This is Mike Lindell. If you're unfamiliar with the guy, he is, God, how do I put this politely? He is Donald Trump's biggest fanboy and is absolutely convinced that there was foul play in the 2020 election. He has made this his entire life. He's put millions of dollars into election integrity, as he calls it. In reality, he's completely full of it, has no idea what he's talking about, never did. Well, guess what? Not only is he currently being sued in, I believe, multiple lawsuits for false defamatory claims that he's made about the Dominion voting systems, Smartmatic, and a bunch of other people. Eric Coomer, personally, I think the CEO of Dominion, I'm not even sure. Not only is he being sued for all of that stuff, and he has been for a while, he's making more election claims. Dude is still doing this. Check this out. This is late December 2022. Listen to what he had to say here.
They don't want the truth to come out that this was just a big setup. It was a setup to silence our voices.
He's talking about January 6th. He says January 6th was a big setup.
On January 7th and 8th, 1.2 million people got platformed across our country. They lost their Vimeos, Twitters, Zuckerbuck, Facebook.
What the hell is a Zuckerbuck? Why did he... Like, I know that you guys probably don't watch as much Lindell as I do. Like, nobody should be forced to endure that. But he says this a lot, actually. He uses the term Zuckerbuck entirely too often. I don't know what it means.
There's Zuckerbuck, Facebook, YouTube, including our president losing, 100 million people on Twitter. It was all a setup charade, a setup to deflect and to scare people, to put fear into people, and it's just been disgusting.
Dude, I honestly don't know how he can rationalize that type of position to himself after Donald Trump specifically said he wanted true patriots, quote unquote, to be there at the Capitol on January 6th. He invited them personally and said, I will be there with you. We're going to the Capitol. We're going to give them a piece of our mind and show them what we really think, basically. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. And they showed up, and sure enough, there was violence. There was an attempt to overthrow the U.S. government. Not only do I not know how Lindell believes this stuff himself, and I do think he honestly believes the BS that he spews, but how is it that he convinces others of this garbage? This just blows my mind. He thinks, again, this is a giant persecution complex. He thinks he's being persecuted. Everyone's being persecuted for breaking the law, for literally mounting an insurrection against the U.S. government. I don't feel like that's hyperbole. Lindell has been in trouble for the things that he says for a while now. Back in early April 2022, he was served court documents by a guy named Eric Coomer. Eric Coomer, I believe, is or was the CEO of Dominion Voting Systems, and he sued Lindell for defamation, I think. Check this out. Early April 2022 is when this happened.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for everything.
What is this? Sir, what is this? It's for you. Okay, well, what is it?
It's not from me. It's not from me. It's for you.
Okay, I need you to open.
That is a court document right there, sir.
Oh, it is.
Sorry.
God, I love it, dude. Process servers are so sneaky sometimes. They can get you wherever you are. It is really crazy. And look at this guy. He dressed up like he belonged in this crowd, like, you know, wearing the what appears to be kind of like a hunter's jacket, so you're more visible out in the fields to humans. And he seems to be wearing an Iraq-Afghanistan veteran hat with like ribbons on it and stuff. Process servers are something else, man. He fit into the crowd perfectly. Nobody suspected a thing. So anyways, yeah, Lindell, after being served these papers... Okay, let me give you a little advice. Not a lawyer, but this is advice I think anybody can take. If you are being served papers calling you to a lawsuit, shut your mouth. Don't say a word. Just clam up and let things play out in court, because the more you talk, the more things that you say, the more incriminating it is. early April 2022, like just, I think 2 days after that happened, or maybe even the next day, Lindell comes out there and says this.
And all this stuff. Well, there was a guy there that gave me an envelope, and it's about this thick. And I said, what's this? And he was kind of sheepish. He says, don't open that here. Well, you might have seen it in the news today. It's a lawsuit, another lawsuit. Eric Coomer, the president of Dominion, don't know if he still is, but he sued myself, he sued MyPillow, and he sued FrankSpeech.com.
So, like I said, if you are served papers, shut up. Shut your mouth. Don't talk about it ever again. Not until you are in a courtroom with a lawyer should you say a word about this. Dude doesn't know how to protect himself to save his own life.
So he sued Frank Speech and MyPillow, thousands of employees. It's just one more thing they just pile on, Brandon. Do we have just to show?
And whose fault is that? He's acting like it's everybody else's fault except for his. He is the one at fault here. He is the one that defamed this organization, this business, this person. He defamed them. He broke the law. This is him, his doing, nobody else's.
What kind of guy this is? I know we have a couple of articles that came out on him just recently, right?
Yeah, we do. They were published over at the Gateway Pundit.
Right. I mean, this guy is...
Yeah, never heard of the Gateway Pundit. Have no idea who that is or why he believes that they're trustworthy. Eric Coomer was just the CEO of a company. That's it. Wasn't even that big of a company. And Mike Lindell went out there and demonized the guy, stochastic terrorism style, targeting him and getting his audience whipped into a blood frenzy and ready to do something insane.
Right. I mean, this guy is he's an evil man. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, Eric Coomer is the evil man, 100%, definitely, Mike. I just wanted to give you a little bit of background on like Lindell's history with being sued and show you that the guy cannot clamp it to save his life. Because, believe it or not, he's still refusing to shut his mouth despite everyone's best efforts, despite what his attorney is telling him. Shut up. He can't. Listen to this one, late December 2022.
Shame on you, Sean. You told me in the summer that you couldn't talk about it.
Talking about Sean Hannity recommending that Mike Lindell shut his mouth so that he doesn't get sued anymore, basically, by Dominion. Forever ago, I don't know, I think last year or something, like after the 2020 election, Dominion voting systems were heavily demonized and criticized, and all kinds of claims were made about them by Mike Lindell and Sidney Powell and Fox News, Newsmax, One American News, a bunch of organizations and people out there like that. They made a bunch of bizarre, unhinged, untrue, objectively false claims about Dominion voting systems to try to convince the general public that there was foul play. Basically, they made these claims that Dominion voting systems was originally owned by, I don't know, a Venezuelan company or something, and it had ties to China, and China was secretly changing the votes, and they were sending our ballots overseas and flipping a bit. You know how all these people just make it up like this. It was so bad that they finally got sued for defamation for $1 billion. They sued Sidney Powell for $1 billion. They sued Mike Lindell for $1 billion. Fox News clammed up and stopped talking about it. In fact, I think they might have even read a statement from Dominion Voting Systems on air. Like, at the very least, I believe Newsmax and or One America News read these statements from Dominion Systems. We have no reason to believe that there was any foul play. We don't think that there was any link to other governments with Dominion voting systems. We don't believe that they flipped votes or any of that other stuff. But Mike Lindell continued on. Sean Hannity said, shut up because you're being sued for $1 billion. And we're going to be sued for $1 billion also. Just shut your mouth. And he couldn't. That's what Sean Hannity was trying to communicate to Mike Lindell. And he's sitting here saying, shame on you. Like, this is so ridiculous and embarrassing.
Shame on you, Sean. You told me in the summer that you couldn't talk about it. But yet you said, back off, Mike, before you get hurt. That's what he said, that these people are going to come and hurt me.
Okay, who? These people? What people is he even talking about? Who would come and hurt Mike Lindell? Like, nobody needs to hurt him. You know who you don't get money out of? Somebody that's been hurt or killed. Why would they hurt him? They can sue him for every penny he's worth. This is all just more persecution complex nonsense.
You know, they're going to come after you. Don't you said right to Kendra, said, don't you care about him? Tell him to let this go. Let 2020 go, Mike. That was what Sean said to me more than once. Just like he did the therapeutics the year before when we had all those therapeutics at work. He called me right after Anderson Cooper for an hour on the phone and said, you need to back off. You need to back off. I said, well, I want to save people's lives, save our country. At that point, I guess I should have, because I was at $10 million worth of that therapeutic to give away to the country to help.
What is he talking about? This therapeutics stuff? This is like deep lore that I am not privy to.
To give away to the country to help open up our country and save lives. And just last week, flushed a lot of them out being outdated. And because Big Pharma just fought.
Big Pharma, right. Big Pharma is definitely to blame for all of his problems. Yeah. And so anyway, the point is Mike Lindell has had everybody and their sister calling him and telling him, Mike, you're going to be sued, or he's already being sued. You're going to lose these lawsuits. You're going to lose every penny that you own if you don't, like, at least narrow it down to only saying factual things. Like, don't make things up. Only speak about factual things at the very least. He couldn't even do that. This dude is something else. He just blows me away. Before we continue, I just wanted to mention something. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, you can support me in a few ways. First, there's Patreon. That's probably the best way. But if you want to get something back for your support, you can check out my Teespring. Or you can check out my Telltale Unfiltered channel. I go through long-form, unhinged sermons from all kinds of people, from Hank Kunneman to Greg Locke to Jehovah's Witnesses. So give it a look. Links are in the description. Okay, now back to the video. Check this one out. This is another from late December 2022.
I'm going to break a little breaking news, Brandon, here right now, that this will probably surprise a lot of people.
Okay, I'm down. Let's hear it.
And I don't know if you know about it, but do you know what I took my about, a lot of...
What's happening right now? He was telling us a story and suddenly started stumbling over his words.
About, a lot of my team, at least the cyber team and the IT people. Do you know what county in the country I'm having them focus on?
What?
For the next couple weeks?
What? Which one?
It is just hold on a second. Go talk there. I'm gonna see if I'm getting advice from my attorney here not to say.
He's getting advice from his attorney live not to say anything. Is this real? Again, the guy can't, keep his mouth shut to save his own life. Why is his attorney even bothering? Why is he trying? The answer, though, I'm pretty sure, is he wants to focus in on Florida. I believe that this clip came, immediately after the one that we just saw. It, chronologically. So he goes on to explain something else. Continue listening here.
What'd
you find out after we broke away with her for a minute?
Okay, well, here's what we got, everybody. Just like I told you before, we have, with Smartmatic, we have all the cast vote records for the results have come in for LA County. So we have everything on Smartmatic from the 2020 election.
Smartmatic was one of the voting machine companies, I believe, and it's used in 2 districts in 2020 or something like that. It's not really that widespread in our election system. And either way, they weren't rigging the system. It's completely made up.
What we're doing now is I am going after Dade County in the 2022 election. And everyone says, now, why would you go after Dade County? Would you know why, Brandon?
Okay, Dade County is the county that Miami is in Florida, and it is heavily Hispanic. There are a lot of Hispanic people there, and it's historically been viewed as like a left-wing or Democratic stronghold, you can just about guarantee that the Democrat, or it's going to vote more blue generally. It's going to vote more liberal at the very least, more left. To everyone's surprise, it voted very, very red, like a lot more red than usual in 2022, the 2022 midterms. Ron DeSantis was running for governor again, and he took the Miami-Dade area, surprisingly. So Lindell says he's going after Miami-Dade. Okay.
Would you know why, Brandon?
Well, no, I mean, that's Florida. You would think, oh, that's a conservative state, Dade County.
But you know what happened in Dade County in the 2022 election?
Is that the one where no? That's not the one where there's so many Hispanics flipped and voted for Republican, is it?
Well, this is where Ron DeSantis won Dade County. That's a Republican won Dade County.
Okay.
Let me give you a little bit of context here. Mike Lindell does not like Ron DeSantis. He views DeSantis as the only credible threat to his God Emperor Donald Trump in the 2024 election. Trump announced that he's running in 2024. No questions asked. It's going to happen, according to Trump. And Ron DeSantis is very obviously an alternative successor, an alternate possibility to somebody for the Republican Party. The only alternative to Donald Trump. And the establishment people in the Republican Party have really been pumping him up and trying to garner interest in DeSantis because they want to separate from Donald Trump, basically. So Lindell sees that. He knows that they're trying to separate from Trump, so he starts targeting DeSantis with everything he's got. That is the real reason why he wants to talk about Miami-Dade County.
Dade County.
Okay.
Well, for me, I look at deviations, everybody. That's a deviation.
Because that was historical. Normally Republicans don't win that county.
I don't believe it. So I want to. So yeah, just going to show everybody, just like we always tell you about Democrats, where they stole their elections.
Okay, now he's at the very least heavily implying that Ron DeSantis stole the 2022 election because he flipped votes or whatever. Well, first of all, I wouldn't put it past Ron DeSantis to do something like that. It's just that our election systems are actually very secure and very transparent to the people involved in the elections. If there was any kind of malfeasance or, questionable activity, I'm very confident that the Democratic Party in the area would have picked up on it and refused to concede and drew attention to that situation. I'm very sure that that would have happened. And if there was malfeasance, I'm very, very confident that Joe Biden and the Department of Justice would have brought the hammer down swiftly on whoever was responsible for that. I have no reason to believe that there was election trickery happening in Miami-Dade County in Florida in 2022. The reason Lindell is talking about it in the first place is because he hates Ron DeSantis and he wants to ruin his life. He wants to make things more difficult for him because he loves his God Emperor Trump and he'll do anything for him. That's really the whole point here. It's not about election integrity. And he says he looks at deviations. Like, this isn't a massive deviation. And sometimes deviations happen. Sometimes voting blocks change their positions. Sometimes people vote differently than they historically have. This isn't completely out of the ordinary, completely unexpected. He's just looking for some way to get back at Ron because he thinks he's trying to usurp his God Emperor Trump. That's it.
So yeah, just going to show everybody, just like we always tell you about Democrats, where they stole their elections, just like they did the one that nice lady in Georgia that got 0 votes in her own precinct.
Right.
I want to find.
Okay, completely made up. What he's talking about is an actual event there with that lady that he says Democrats stole the elections, just like that poor lady in Georgia that got 0 votes in her own precinct. This was an actual event not long ago. It was, I think, like a runoff election or some kind of a really small local election. I forget exactly what it was. And there were like 3 or 4 candidates. And there were like 10, 15,000 people voting in this little area or something like that. And for some reason, this woman got 0 votes. So she was really popular in the primaries, or she's really popular in earlier elections, but she got 0 votes in a district that had thousands of people, and that made absolutely no sense. And everybody knew that made no sense. And, as a matter of fact, she was a Democrat. The woman who was dealing with this was a Democrat. She voted for herself in her own district, so she knew that that was inaccurate. So she raised a red flag, said, hey, what's going on here? People took a look and investigated, figured out that there was a weird error in the system that they were dealing with, resolved the error, and everything worked out fine. She actually went on to win, I think. There was no cheating. There was no election malfeasance. There's no reason to believe that somebody rigged the systems or any of that. He finds weird little events that are reported, like I think this is reported by AP News or Reuters or something. He finds these weird little events that really mean nothing, and he blows them out of proportion and claims that they mean something. And now he's using that as evidence that there was this massive multi-state operation to steal the election from Trump and everybody else. It's just all made up. It's all complete nonsense.
In Dade County, what happened there? Because it's a deviation from norm, you know.
Yeah.
It's very much a deviation. So, and I'm gonna give you more.
Can this guy? Will he ever give it up? Is he ever going to move on with his life, or is he going to use this whole election integrity thing as a weapon in perpetuity? That is exactly what he's doing, by the way. He's using election integrity as a weapon against his political enemies. That's why he's targeting Ron DeSantis right now, because he doesn't like him, because he doesn't trust him, because he thinks he's going to try to usurp his God Emperor. This is Mike Lindell giving an update, I guess you'd call it, at Mar-a-Lago the night that Donald Trump announced that he's running for president in 2024. So it's like November 15th, I think. Yeah, November 15th is when this took place. Can't believe I remembered that date right off the top of my head.
They asked me about Ron DeSantis running against Donald Trump, and I said, after tonight, Ron will just endorse him in the morning. You got to believe that. Why would you want to waste all that time, energy, money, and everything else? So very exciting here, and I'm in my element with all the fake news, doing interviews, and the main thing is what? Melt down the machines and turn them into prison bars. And it's been pretty amazing. They've all listened. Now we'll see if they print these things about our stolen midterms, elections, and primaries, everything that was taken from us. And
dude, God, I feel like the guy doesn't realize that machines are made out of silicon, not like metal, really, but silicon and plastics generally. But okay. I don't think you want to make a prison out of that, but that's neither here nor there. So the point is that he expects Ron to be Trump's only credible opponent, basically. The problem with this whole situation in Lindell's eyes, and honestly in the eyes of everybody, is that you can't win a without Trump. So Trump controls 30 to 35% of the Republican Party. You cannot win an election on the Republican side without Trump's support. But the other 65% of the Republican Party hate Donald Trump, can't stand him, want to separate from him by any means necessary, basically. So he can't win a general election. You can't win a primary without him. You can't win a general election with him. So when Trump runs in 2024, in my opinion, he will lose. I believe that Trump is going to lose the 2024 presidential election if he eventually gets to the general election, if he actually gets the nomination for the Republican Party. But Trump has already said that if he doesn't get the nomination, if he isn't the Republican, the Republican nominee for the party, he's going to run third party. And I am so here for it. If Trump runs third party, the Democrat is guaranteed to win. There is no chance of anybody winning anything except for the Democrat in that case, because Trump is going to split the Republican Party right in two. I so hope that happens. Mike Lindell expects it to go that way too, if Ron DeSantis does indeed challenge him, and that's what he worries about. Anyway, the point here is that Mike Lindell can't shut his mouth to save his own life, and he will do absolutely anything for his God Emperor Donald Trump. Let me know what you think about this in the comments, and tell me if you want to see more stuff like this. I am endlessly entertained by it.